Like, thinking about this the other day, I wonder how much knowledge of tropes matters.
You mean like when you're watching anything or reading, just like knowing the standard tropes, like in a harem anime kind of thing?
Yeah, so like this book is Natural Beauty by Ling Huang, and it's like a thriller horror, like body horror, which I never grew up watching horror movies or any kind of thrillers, really, for the most part. I grew up like with my mom reading mysteries and like watching police dramas, but that's it. And I wonder if I would have had a better experience if I had had that knowledge base.
So like if you knew what to expect going in?
Or if I knew kind of what the images from like horror movies that she was trying to relate were.
Okay. So like if you had a better idea of the typical things that they include in a horror story?
Yeah, or like what images would be scary in like a horror movie.
Okay.
So like this will make sense later. So the book starts out where you're introduced to this character who is currently like a dishwasher, and she's talking about how she specifically feels bad about her hands because she's obviously a dishwasher in a restaurant and her hands like suffer a lot. Like she's thinking about like how she has skin that peels off of her hands like literally daily.
I mean, that kind of feels accurate. I used to wash dishes.
Yeah.
And so like you use some heavy duty chemicals, but there's always residue on the dishes when they come out.
Yeah. So, and she's like using like really hot water. And then somebody walks into the restaurant after close when she's like getting like her free fries that are soggy and cold. And the lady recognizes her and is like, hey, you are that girl from that thing. You used to be at the Conservatory of Music and you used to be a pianist, right? That's how you say it.
I can't help it.
You're such a child.
But also,
that's
like,
how you say it.
But also, you know, you're just like, oh yeah, you're that person from that place.
Yeah.
I go, that sounds not real.
Yeah. So like, and it's been like several years since she was at the conservatory. So it's kind of like when you recognize somebody in like a movie and they're like, yeah, I recognize you from childhood. You remember 10 years ago?
Yes, I remember everything. I'm omnipotent. I know all.
So like then the lady is telling her, she's like, hey, come to this like place tomorrow, and essentially implies that, you know, she's gonna give this girl a job. And she's like, also very strangely, she says, wear long sleeves. That really doesn't come up again.
So that was just kind of like a throwaway.
Yeah, she's like, wear long sleeves. Okay. And so then the girl,
her forearms ugly?
I don't know. She doesn't have tattoos as far as I know. They're not described in the movie or in the book at all. So like, I don't know. I assume it's something to do with her skin color being too not white.
I mean, like, you did say her hands look pretty gross, but, I mean...
But that doesn't extend to your arms.
Don't really know. That was a little weird. Okay.
Yeah.
But continue.
So then the girl goes to this kind of like, it's like a Goop-esque Sephora crossover. So not like trying to get sued or anything, but it's like Goop, where it's a holistic health place / beauty spa where they do like really weird experimental beauty treatments.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily call them beauty treatments. I don't really understand how any of them work because they don't explain them well enough.
I feel like they probably didn't know what to say as far as the science goes, so they wanted to leave it as that so you can use it as a plot point.
Yeah, so like they don't really explain it. They kind of explain it. They're like, oh, this girl founded like this eel like facial or something, and that's it. And so she walks in and they immediately offer her a job, which super weird. But it's like eons better than her old job.
I mean, yeah, than just washing dishes.
Yeah, so like
I take it.
Yeah, they have like a really nice like employee lounge. Like they have a bathtub in the employee bathroom.
I've never seen that before.
I don't know why you would want to be naked around your coworkers either.
Okay.
Like taking a bath.
Does it ever come up again later?
Yeah, it does actually.
Okay, so she does use it.
Yeah, she does.
Alright, I wasn't sure if this was another, like, forearm thing.
No, but there's also like a zoo where they keep animals that are supposed to be used as like emotional support cuddle animals for their celebrity clientele, but the animals are not normal. They're not like dogs. They're like zebras and gorillas.
I'm sorry, you keep zebras? How big is the storefront? Do they have
It's huge! It's in the middle of New York. I don't understand how it's so big.
This lady better have so much money to be able to do that.
So she's like got a venture capitalist like funding her.
Yeah, but that doesn't, it's not enough though. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know.
He's like the biggest Forbes 30 under 30 billionaire ever. Like he made his first million at like 18 kind of thing.
Suspicious.
It's very suspicious.
Continue.
But she gets this job and she's like, this is great. This is the best thing ever. And then she talks about how everybody recognizes her because she is a pianist, which we're just gonna, that's how you say the word.
I'm listening. Okay, I didn't laugh this time. Let the record show.
So she's a pianist and they're talking about like this guy who runs the parent company, if that makes sense. Okay. So there's a parent company and then there's Holistic, which is the name of the Goop-esque alternative. And then he runs the parent company and then the girl, Sage, spelled with a J.
Like S-A-J-E.
J-E.
Sajay.
Sage. I'm pretty sure it's Sage. I never listened to the audiobook, so I can't guarantee, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I believe it.
So he runs the parent company and then Sage technically runs Holistic, but only in name only.
Okay, so it's just her name on the business, but she doesn't actually run it.
She's like the creative CEO, and he's the money and the CEO actual business smarts.
Okay, so he does like the business behind it, and she's the one who kind of just markets it?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So this girl, who is never named, by the way, the main character is never named.
She doesn't have a name?
She's not named in the book. She is named a white name later in the book, but she is not named until about 70% through the book.
Okay, so you're just following her, and I guess nobody ever calls her by name then? They just go, hey you, what's up, champ?
Yeah, so they either don't call her by name or they don't mention it.
Okay.
So like they just avoid using it in the book. They do say that her name is presumably Chinese for Lotus.
Okay.
But I don't know whether it's Cantonese or Mandarin, and I'm pretty sure there's several different ways to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the characters too. It has like a different meaning.
Yeah. So they never say her name throughout the entire book. I think this is meant to be a thing where like she's not a person.
Until she gets her white person name later?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then at one point, so there's like the manager is showing her around. So there's Sage, the owner. There's the guy whose name I do not remember, even though he's actually important.
Okay.
I'm going to call him Arthur because I think it starts with an A.
All right. What's Artie doing?
Arthur is the CEO of the parent company.
Okay.
Sage is the CEO of Holistic.
Uh-huh.
And then there's Lilith, who is the manager.
Okay.
Of the store. So she's just a store manager.
Okay.
Lilith is showing around our main character. And Lilith is like, hey, like, how do you not know Arthur? Like, where did you grow up? How did you live under a rock? Mm-hmm. And so then this launches the best part of the book, in my opinion, which is the author describing the main character's childhood as a daughter of Chinese immigrants.
Okay.
So this is the best part of the book because it's very detailed, it's very in-depth, and very, I would say, like, it's probably based off of like personal experience, so it's actually interesting to read.
Okay.
So she talks about how her parents fled the Cultural Revolution. This does not make sense in timeline, by the way. Yeah. But her parents like were part of it where they were in work camps and they were young before it happened. They were in work camps. They somehow got a scholarship to be a pianist in America because they had already learned piano before the Cultural Revolution.
And these are the parents?
These are the parents of the main character. Also not named. Only ever named Mama and Baba.
Okay, I mean that
makes
tracks.
Sense. Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't call my mom by her first name most of the time if I can help it.
Actually, you do, but that's okay.
Well, only if we're like in public. I feel like it's weird to just go, "Hey, mom," and then like 4 people look over and I go, "That's the wrong mom."
I don't think that's ever happened to me.
Oh, that used to happen to me when I was a kid. I'd be like, "Mom,
mom, 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 mom."
Exactly.
And the wrong mom would walk over.
Yeah, because then you just get everyone's attention. But sorry.
Okay, so she talks about how her parents grew up during the Cultural Revolution, came to America, and were very, very poor. So her dad gets a scholarship to come to America and be a student at like the New York Conservatory or some, I don't know, so like the Boston Conservatory. I don't know.
Very prestigious.
Yeah, he was a piano student. It was crazy. He struggled because everything was in English and he had to like learn all the things that he knew in Chinese in English, which is an extra layer of hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so he didn't have any money because he only got like a graduate student stipend, basically.
Yeah.
And then the mom did odd jobs and sometimes taught piano. Is kind of how she grew up. So she didn't have any money growing up.
It's very like classic family upbringing.
Yeah. So then she said that I wonder what.
It was mine.
It was yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because it's like a kind of a loose connection, so.
Oh, you gotta hold it in.
Yeah, well, I just gotta make sure I hold it steady because I'm like fiddling with the mic in my hands.
Sorry.
No, continue though.
Okay. So she grows up and she's like 4 or 6 at this point. So she's 4 and she sees her parents, and this is how her parents relate to each other and remind themselves of their past is through music. Mm-hmm. So they play the songs that were part of their childhood growing up, like the songs that the Cultural Revolution got rid of. They, her father, after she goes to bed, she sneaks back out and she watches, and her father asks her mom like, "Hey, where do you want to go tonight?"
Mm-hmm.
And her mom's like, "Oh, I want to go to like Russia," which they've never been able to go to, obviously. And then he plays like a Russian composer's song.
Okay.
So
well,
it's really, it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful way to relate to music.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sweet on how the parents relate to each other, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like how they share their love with each other. You know how like in traditional Asian families, we always say like food is love?
Mm-hmm.
For this family, music is love because they don't have food. Basically.
It's really dark, but also very true.
They like have enough food to feed their kid and then they don't really eat that much.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of my parents where they just kind of like eat like birds.
Yeah.
They pick at like the same dish and they don't finish it.
Yeah. So like this family, music is their way of relating their emotions. It's the way that they speak to each other, the way that they tell each other everything. And it's just a really beautiful thing. So the daughter grows up and she's seeing this, and then at 4 she starts begging her parents to start to teach her how to play piano. And they don't want to.
Interesting, because you would think they want to relate to their family and use music as their universal love language.
I think it's kind of like the classic thing where they're poor immigrants and they want their daughter to do better, so they want her to be like a lawyer or a doctor or something that makes a lot of money so that she doesn't have to struggle like they did, because they're like, we love music, but also music doesn't pay us.
Yeah, it's a passion. It's not going to pay your bills, unfortunately.
Yeah. So eventually they relent at 6 and they start teaching her piano, and she takes it up really quickly. She's like learning really fast and she loves it because it's like how she relates to her parents. It's how her parents relate to her. And her dad starts taking videos of her. He spends like all their money to buy a video camcorder.
Oh, wow, brings back memories.
And he takes videos of her so that he can post them on like the internet so that their family back in the mainland can see her.
Is he posting them to like Daily Mail?
I think it's
Vimeo.
like YouTube.
I mean, like, wait, when did this book come out?
This book came out like last year.
Okay, so it came out last year. We're assuming the character is like 20s, right?
The timeline makes absolutely fucking no sense because she has like an iPhone, But her parents grew up during the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way.
It would be way too old.
It makes no sense.
Like, for the timeline that they give, it's like, you know, when you're 18, 19 years old, you move over to America from the mainland.
Yeah.
And, like, that's how everything goes. But if they were alive during the revolution, it's way too long. It would be, like, several generations up.
I don't know if it's supposed to be like, oh, they didn't grow up during the revolution. They grew up, like, immediately after, in the aftermath.
So they were still feeling the same kind of effects.
But still, even then, that's, like, too long. Like, for 2010, they were really old.
Yeah, it just doesn't add up correctly.
Because presumably, if she's, like, our age, she would have been born in, like, 1980, 1990, that like time period.
Yeah.
And if they moved, I just don't think it makes a ton of sense.
It's too far off.
Like the 60s and 70s, the Cultural Revolution had kind of like that kind of like strong like work camps and like
that's all over.
That was like over by then, so I don't really understand.
Exactly.
Maybe the author was like going off of her parents' stories of their parents.
Yeah, so it was like a generation up from then.
Yeah, kind of like your great aunt was telling us about like how she would visit, like her parents visited the mainland at one point.
Yeah.
And they were still forcing them to wear like uniforms.
Yeah, exactly. So it could just be like the ripple effect after it's finished and you're still feeling the effects. So I guess that makes kind of better sense.
I don't know. Maybe that I'm just gonna assume that, but I think it's like timeline wise, it doesn't totally make a ton of sense.
We'll just chalk it up to plot armor. It's fine.
It's fine. But this is the best part of the book. Is like she's talking about how she relates to music and how beautiful music is to her and how it's her emotions, and that's the only way she knows how to express her emotions.
Okay.
And this is the best part. And so he starts posting the videos to like, we'll say a YouTube equivalent.
Yep.
That apparently they can access in China.
Whatever.
We're just gonna accept that one. At the first part of the book, they don't mention that it's China. They just mention that it's like the mainlands.
Okay.
But like, it's definitely China.
Yeah.
It's like definitely China.
That's fine.
So he starts posting it to YouTube, and she becomes a viral sensation. And then somebody comes and knocks on their door and says, "Hey, I'm going to give your daughter a stipend and money, and she's going to be able to go to the most prestigious music school in the world." So this is like American Ballet Academy, but for musicians, if that makes sense. I don't think you know anything about American Ballet Academy.
I know exactly nothing about that, but I understand at least.
It's like a trade school, but only for the arts.
Yeah, exactly. So they try to catch you when you're young, and you know they can still make a big difference and teach you a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of guide you up into being a star.
Yeah, exactly. So they want you to be the star, and they're gonna start you very young. So she starts at like 14, and she's the youngest student, but she's also the best. So all the other students hate her guts.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like, you know, the 12-year-old kid in your like calculus class.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, why are you here?
Like the professor's like, "Oh my god, I've never heard anything like this. How did you learn this technique?" And she's like, "I don't know, my dad taught it to me."
Brings them literally to tears and goes, "Oh, Baba said so."
Yeah, like they're like, "Well, why did you do this like section with this?" And they use like technical terms, and she's like, "I don't really know. That's just how my dad told me to do it." Like, she doesn't have technical words for the things that she's doing.
Yeah, she was just kind of taught it because it sounds nice.
Yeah, she's going on instinct.
Okay.
So then, let's see. So she's now at this school, and she is being heavily bullied because she's the best, and all the other kids hate her for it. And
she's also the youngest.
Yep, and she's the youngest, and she's also really poor, and she's Chinese. So she looks different. Whenever her parents visit, they send her food that looks weird, and like presumably this is like 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, so you don't want to stick out.
No.
You want to have that Lunchables, but Lunchables cost money.
Yeah, so what she does is she promised herself she would send money to her parents because her parents gave her everything.
Okay.
But then she ends up not doing it because she wants to fit in.
Oh, that's the Asian family scoring right there. You'd be like, "Yeah, I'll send you home money when I make it big in America. Don't worry about it." And then you're like, "Oh no, I need money to survive.
Yeah. So she starts buying like clothes to fit in and like Lunchables, essentially. She's buying the Lunchables.
Well, she's just buying lunch there, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
to fit
she's
in.
buying like whatever she can to fit in.
Okay.
And then she starts doing all of that, and then she still doesn't fit in. Like the girls at the school are still like, they still hate her.
Mm-hmm.
And her parents come to visit her for her graduation, like, concert. So every year they do a concert. All the students like show off whatever piece they've been working on really hard. There's parents, there's faculty, and I would assume that there's also agents.
So, wait, the graduation is for high school or college?
They're not clear.
Okay.
I'm gonna assume it's high school.
Yeah, because the way it sounded was that she's 14 and she goes into this school, and it's kind of like a trade school, so it's sort of like a tech school.
Yeah, so she never goes to college as far as I'm aware. She probably has a GED at the most.
Okay. Yeah, so she probably completes high school, or that's her high school recital.
Yeah. So she graduates, and she does this graduation thing. So every year they do this recital, and her parents come. So excited to see them because whenever her parents are in the audience, she plays better because she's obviously like they're the origins of everything. This is how she relates to them. This is how they relate to her.
Mm-hmm.
This is how everybody this is the love language of this family.
Yeah, it's how you tell them that you love them.
Yeah. So then she's playing like the best she's ever played, but her mom sees that like she spent her money on like a new dress. And her mom bought her a dress, and it's not very nice, but she's so excited that her mom bought her a dress. She immediately throws out whatever she was wearing, and she puts on hers, and then the other girls walk by and they make fun of her.
Ooh, classic. That's like the setup too.
Yeah, so but then her mom is like, oh, you should have just worn this, and she's like, no, Mom, I love that you brought this for me.
Oh, at least she tells her.
Yeah, so she loves them, and whenever they're around, she feels the guilt and she feels the family connection, but whenever they're not around, which is most of the time, because they're in New Jersey, and she's in New York City.
Uh-huh. Be very careful what you're gonna say.
She feels like she doesn't feel that guilt anymore.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's the distance. It's kind of like when you go away to college and you're away from your family. It's nice to have that freedom, but then, you also feel guilty about not seeing them every day as opposed to, you were at home, presumably for high school.
Yeah.
And living with them, so now you're only talking to them once a week, once a month kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, so she's got that. She has this guilt that's kind of surfacing whenever her parents are around, but not so much when they're not. So then she does her concert. She's the best she's ever been. And her parents are like, hey, we have to drive home to New Jersey. So we have to leave kind of early. And she's like, please, could you just stay for a little bit longer? And her parents are like, okay, we brought you some dinner. And they bring rice and her mom's special pork or whatever.
Okay.
I don't think they actually fully describe what they brought, but she's so excited. It's all her traditional food. It's all the food that she's nostalgic for that she doesn't eat because the other kids make fun of her.
It's hard to live off of hamburgers when you got dumplings at home.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's the good stuff.
Yeah. So then she's like, please, can you stay? And her mom is massaging her hands, and she falls asleep, and she wakes up and they're gone because they left. Because they have to go home to New Jersey because they have a student in the morning.
They gotta drive home.
Yeah. And then that's the end of the chapter.
Okay.
So then we pull back to the present, and she's just learning about the holistic thing. And they're like, hey, you have to wear this weird, I really don't understand how this necklace works. It's a nugget of silver that's hollow, but it moves around.
Wait, what?
So
wait, it's a necklace.
It's a necklace.
And it has a piece of silver on it.
Right. So imagine a locket.
Okay.
But the locket is a circle.
Okay.
But the circle does not form until the necklace is on her.
What?
I don't know. It's a sci-fi thing, I feel like. When you see Mercury making movements in sci-fi movies.
Okay.
That's what I think, that's what in my head it looks like. And then it's got supplements in it. And I don't know how it gets new supplements.
How do you refill it? Well, I mean,
You don't refill it.
the obvious answer is that you have to refill it. That's fucking magic.
No, you don't
then.
refill it.
No. So it's horror plus fantasy. Got it.
I'm really confused.
That is really strange.
It's very confusing. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But it's a supplement thing. It vibrates when you are supposed to take your supplements. And one of the rules at this place is that you have to take whatever supplements they provide you. And they're calibrated to you specifically.
Okay, so like holistic healthcare that's sold to you,
Yep.
but in order for you to get in on the business, you have to take it yourself.
Yeah. So you have to be the face of it, so you have to use it. Kind of like if you work in like a makeup like retailer, you kind of have to wear makeup really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, because then like why else would they choose you unless
Yeah.
they want you to rep their products? So I guess it's just, that part makes sense to me. I can get
It
it.
makes sense. So they give you special like protein, collagen powders, like AG1-esque, not trying to get sued again.
Do you really want to make me edit this that heavily? I'm gonna have to find out how to do that.
You don't have to edit anything,
I don't know if you can name drop like that, because it sounds a little slanderous.
It's not slanderous. I'm just trying to think. Like it's like green powder.
Okay, probiotics. We'll just keep going from there.
Probiotic powders, collagen powders, like green superfood vitamins, that kind of thing. And they give you all this, and then they give you like face cream, hand cream, sunscreen, I don't know, all the creams, all the things to rub onto you.
Yep.
And then, so they got you inside and out. They got your body, they got your gut, they got vitamins, they got your skin.
I don't really like how you put that. That really, now that makes me very self-conscious about how the inside of me looks, I guess.
They're like beauty from the inside out, man.
Okay, let's move on.
So they make you sign this thing that says that you're going to take all of these supplements, and then you are eligible to participate in clinical trials or not clinical. They're
just experiments.
Yeah, you're eligible to participate in experimental processes or treatments or whatever, and then they'll recommend you for certain ones.
Okay.
And that's it. So then she spends like the next couple of weeks like learning her new job.
Naturally.
The way you do.
It takes like a month or two at least.
Yeah. And one of the things she does is she lives in the basement of a New York City apartment with no shower.
Does she have any way to clean herself?
Nope.
Does she not use like the kitchen sink?
So she rents the basement from two other people who are pieces of shit.
Okay.
And her shower does not work, and they won't fix it.
Okay.
And so what she does is she trolls online, like dating sites.
Oh, and she like
finds guys, and then she goes to their houses, and then she has sex with them, and then she takes a shower.
Oh. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that happens is like the first week, she goes to this guy's house, she meets up with him, they have sex, and then she goes to take a shower. And he's like super rich. And she walks in, and in the bathtub is his naked twin sister.
What?
Taking a bubble bath.
Oh, she's just kind of there casually.
Yeah, so he didn't know that she was there or something. I don't really know. And she stands up, and the main character is lost in the sauce. She's like, this woman, beautiful. She's all about her.
So she likes women too?
Yeah, so
Okay.
she doesn't admit that she does, but she definitely does.
I'm gonna assume it's just heavily implied.
It's very heavily implied.
You're
She in detail describes her boobs
okay.
and her long, luxurious blonde hair.
I mean, you could have just described how beautiful you thought this person was. Usually, if it's like my best bud that I don't have romantic feeling for, I'm not like, hey dude, you got some nice eyes going on over there.
In detail.
Okay, all right, so.
She's lost in the sauce of the boobs and the hair.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it's like.
Strategically covering the boobs.
I wasn't sure if it's some kind of like envy or if it's just that she finds this girl attractive.
She does, in some ways, envy her because this girl is like Aryan, white, blonde beauty standards. But in some ways she does envy her, and in other ways it really is. She's into girls.
Okay.
So she is like that. And she's like, she sees this girl, she's like, this girl's amazing. I need to know this girl. Who is this girl? And
So she befriends her?
so she doesn't befriend her at that moment. The girl is like, oh, here's how you work the shower. He probably didn't know I was home.
Okay.
And then she walks away. And this girl's like, oh man, I need to know more.
Mm-hmm.
So then she goes into work another day, and lo and behold, blonde girl, there. Blonde girl is very important to the story. Do not remember her name.
We'll call her Cassidy.
Let's call her Emma.
Okay, fine.
Because I think that's actually closer to her real name.
I don't know. I'm just throwing out white girl
I remember
names.
Lilith.
Okay.
Lilith is important, and I remember her name.
Okay, we'll just call her Emma. So Emma's this blonde beauty.
Emma is the blonde beauty, and then the main character walks into the store, and Emma is there talking to Lilith because Emma and Lilith are friends. Hello, Itty.
We'll see if it picks it up. I'm curious.
And then Lilith are friends, and Emma is showing Lilith a video of the main character playing piano.
Cool.
And it's broadcasting over the speakers in the entire store.
That's a little haunting.
Because Emma's tablet that she's using is actually Lilith's tablet, and she connected to YouTube, and it's playing the music in the store.
I feel like that really messed me up psychologically, though.
Well, so what happens is she flashes back to the reason she doesn't play music anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason she doesn't play music anymore is because the morning after her graduation concert,
Mm-hmm. Where her parents were driving home after they left, right?
somebody comes up to her and says, hey, there's been an accident. And her parents are pretty much comatose for a while.
So they're hospitalized in this car
They're
accident.
long-term care. So they're almost like dementia patients. They don't remember a lot,
Okay.
or they're kind of like amnesiacs. They don't remember a ton,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know her all the time, and they got like their arms crushed, so they can never play.
Yeah. Okay.
So she feels like she's at fault because they left when she was asleep. They stayed late for her,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been trying to take care of them this whole time.
Cool.
And she's
Laying on that guilt thick.
She's super in debt. That's why she doesn't That's why she lives in a basement apartment of another person's apartment.
Yeah, because she doesn't feel like she deserves better.
Well, and she also doesn't have any money because she's
She
several
sends
months
it all.
behind in paying their long-term care facility.
Yeah, so unless you want to pull the plug on the parents, no pun intended, yeah.
So
you just can't do anything. It costs too much.
They're breathing on their own.
Okay.
They're breathing and able to move on their own.
Yeah, but you still need full-time care
Yeah, they
then.
need full-time care. And so she comes to visit them, and she tells them about her new job and how excited she is and how she now has healthcare. And she has family healthcare.
Jazz hands.
Just hands.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
So she can now care for them, but she has to wait for that money to come through.
Mm-hmm.
So she keeps telling the long-term care facility to hey, can you hold off? They're
Okay.
hey, you need to pay your bill, and she's like, please just give me a few more days.
Yeah.
But she's like, I got this new job, it's so great, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes back to work.
Okay.
And she starts seeing a lot of results for her supplements and her collagen and her skin creams and whatever.
Results on herself?
Results on herself.
Okay.
She's like, oh man, my skin looks clearer than it's ever been, my hair is so shiny, my hands look great. And then she starts noticing other weird results.
Okay.
So she starts noticing her legs are longer, and her eyes have changed color.
What cream is this? Hold on. Let me just do some quick Googling over here.
You want longer legs?
I'm just trying to get to 6 foot, okay? Listen.
I think you're perfect just the way you are.
Thanks, but still. That last inch.
You just don't want Peter to be able to put the cereal on the top shelf anymore.
I need my cereal in the morning. It's not funny.
You don't live with Peter anymore.
It still doesn't completely count out that as a threat. Anyway,
so she's like, oh, my legs are longer.
Uh-huh.
My boobs are bigger.
Uh-huh.
Because she's got the little baby itty bitty titty committee.
Uh-huh.
But you know, all boobs are boobs.
But all because of supplements?
Yep.
Alright.
Her skin starts lightening. Her hair starts lightening. Her eyes start lightening.
So she's turning into Emma?
Yeah, she's turning into a blonde beauty.
Okay.
And she likes it.
Uh-huh.
Because other people are treating her really well.
Yeah.
So, like, you know.
You get the pretty privilege then.
Yeah, and she's been, like, mistreated for, like, most of her life. So she wants people to, like, when they see that she works at Holistic, they're like, oh my god, you work at Holistic?
No wonder you look so good.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like, oh, like, and then she starts getting special treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So she loves it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's obviously, so, like, one of the themes of the books is obviously white beauty.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not a prevalent theme. Like, it's not truly explored, in my opinion.
I don't know. That's really weird. So it feels like, at least so far from how you're describing it, it's a lot of her backstory and her experience, which makes sense. You write about the things that you know about. And then, like, this is kind of the plot twist, where, like, the horror is that...
like her parents.
Yeah, is that she's transforming in more ways than one.
Yeah. So she starts transforming, and she starts noticing some other weird things happening around the store.
Okay.
So she notices, for instance, weird treatments
Uh-huh.
that involve sex.
Okay.
And then there's one night where she's got, like, a celebrity couple. So two
Like,
celebrity
Wait.
clients.
Like sex as payment for the treatment?
That comes later.
What?
Yeah.
Wait. How is that the treatment then? Okay. Anyway.
So she stays late one night to open the store for a celebrity client or two celebrity clients, a celebrity couple
Okay.
that are coming in for an after-hours treatment.
All right.
And they have sex in a mud bath full of worms. I don't really understand it. I don't really know. They describe in detail what you're supposed to do with the worms, and I don't really understand it because it doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know if it's just because I don't know how to deal with soil.
I wonder if, like, the writer went on this whole rabbit hole. They just went down the rabbit hole of, like, oh, worms are great, and they're actually really nutritious for the environment, and they're great at breaking down, like, dead skin and material, and the writer's like, oh my god, it's like the fish, I'm in.
She has a fish at one point, too.
Those fish are so
She uses
dangerous.
fish at one point. Yeah.
You can get such bad gangrene from those fish.
know. So then she's supposed to stay late for the clients, but she's not supposed to look at the monitors. Lilith tells her, because she's like, you're going to see some weird shit on those monitors, so don't look at them.
Why would I not look? You're telling me not to look, and then you're also telling me that it's going to be weird? No, I got to know then. I got to know.
So she decides to take a bath in the employee bathroom.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the bathtub.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
bathtub, I told you it would be relevant. So she decides to take a bath in the employee bathroom.
Okay.
And while she's taking a bath, she hears something weird. So she gets out of the bath.
You got to gauge how weird, though. Like, we talking about a weird like a scream?
So I think she starts hearing moaning.
Whoa, wow, so weird. Coming from the other
She
room.
didn't know.
They said it was going to be weird. It's always weird sex stuff.
She didn't know.
Oh, the moaning is so strange. I'd be like, I'm just trying to ignore
So she starts
it.
hearing her moaning, and then I think she hears somebody coming into the building.
Okay.
And so she gets out of the bath, and she checks the cameras, and she sees writhing bodies, as far as I'm aware.
So they're, okay.
Yep. Classic. And then she decides to go to check on them. But she sees somebody coming in, and somebody is going, like I told you, remember that there are animals for emotional support there in a room called the zoo.
Oh, yeah, the whole zebra thing.
The zebras.
Okay.
The zebras. It's like 20 minutes.
Listen, there's a lot to process in this, okay? Don't be like, oh, I just
read
told...
this in like 2 days.
You didn't just tell it to me, okay? I'm trying to process what's going on in the story. There's a lot of weird stuff going on.
This is my problem. Is a lot of weird stuff happens, and I feel like not as much weird stuff needed to happen, and it would have been just as horrifying.
But it's non-specific weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of follow-up questions, though.
I do too. That's my problem. So she hears somebody going into the zoo. So she goes inside and she hears some strange, like, creaking, like, shaking noises, like, you know, like cages rattling kind of
I
thing.
swear to God, they better not be touching an animal. I don't want this.
There's nobody in there, but all the animals are seizing.
Okay.
So like there's like
They got like a hive mind going on.
there's like apes and fish, and that's all I kind of remember. And they're all like seizing and throwing up, and then they all die.
Now let me ask you: how do you tell that a fish is seizing? Is he just flipping more than usual?
I just remember the apes.
Like if I
The
look,
monkeys were important because at one point Sage suckles a monkey on her own boob.
okay. Well, hold on. One thing at a time. So, like, if the fish is seizing, like, what? Is he gonna swallow his own tongue? Do fish have tongues?
I don't know.
What are we doing here?
I don't know.
What's going on?
I think there are octopi too.
Octopi are very intelligent,
I
though.
know. I think that's why they're there.
But fish are not that intelligent, so why the hell are they there?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, there's a weird monkey scene.
Monkeys, yeah. So they're seizing. She's got a pitchfork because she was doing something with the mulch and the worms earlier with a pitchfork, and that she brings that because she thinks there's somebody that's not supposed to be there in the room.
Whoa, another timeout. Who uses a pitchfork to move? That's like me using a fork to eat soup. Why are you using that?
I don't know, maybe and you gotta be careful because there's worms and you don't want to kill the worms, but like if you stab them with the pitchfork, doesn't that kill them? I don't know how worms work.
Or just the fact that you're straining the soil because you need the soil, that doesn't make any sense. Like pitchforks are for hay.
She's got a pitchfork, that's all I know.
Why not give her a shovel?
I don't know.
This just feels like lazy writing. Alright, my immersion keeps on breaking.
I told you the best parts were her flashbacks to her childhood.
Apparently that's the most interesting part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then she's got a pitchfork and she sees all these animals like dying, and then she throws up and passes out.
So she's one of the animals in the zoo.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So she throws up and she passes out, and then she wakes up and she's in a car going somewhere.
Okay, not weird at all.
Yep, super weird.
Okay.
And then she passes out again and she wakes up again and she's in a strange house.
Okay.
She's outside of the bed of a strange house. Like she's fallen onto the floor beside the bed.
So she fell out of the bed, so she was originally on the bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what she thinks.
All right.
And she finds out that she is in the upstate New York farm that supplies Holistic.
Okay, so where they source their
Yeah.
ingredients.
Yeah, so it's like where they do like everything clean. They're like, oh, we have like a 360 degree circle of we never waste anything kind of.
I was going to say circles are 360 degrees, correct?
I don't really, they don't say that in the book. This is just me not knowing how to phrase what they say.
So they're just like, we are zero waste. So everything
that's
that
the
we
word.
do
That was what I was looking for.
does
Thank
not
you.
create more waste.
Yeah, so there's zero waste, and like this is their farm where there's zero waste, and they do like weird Zoroastrianism, like.
What? What did you just say? What is that? What was those words? Zero.
Wait, hold on. Let me describe it.
How does Zorro fit into this?
Let me describe it.
Antonio. All right.
What they do is they put like so like imagine there's a dead cow
Okay.
because they're a farm.
Yep.
And cows die.
Okay. Yeah, they do die. You know, that's how life works. You're a cow on a farm one day, then you kick it, it's over.
So they put the cow on the side of a mountain. She can see this from the house that she's in. They put the cow on the side of a mountain, and then they aim magnifying lenses / like mirrors, so like magnifying mirror lenses thingies, like satellite dishes, at the spot where the cow is on the mountain.
Okay.
And apparently this causes all the birds in the area to go to the body and
Shiny.
pick it clean.
Magpie.
I don't know if that's how vultures work though.
No, it is absolutely not.
So this is like called a sky burial.
Okay.
I think that's the term. And this is done in several cultures specifically, but generally it's done in cultures like Zoroastrianism, which is a version of a monotheistic culture, a monotheistic religion. It's one of the oldest religions in the world. and they do these like sky burials where they basically they don't want anything to go to waste, so everything goes back to the earth. And then she explains this. Sage explains this to the main character.
Okay.
By saying that the Indians, the Native Americans,
okay,
who used to live in this valley in upstate New York, also did this type of burial.
Okay.
Which doesn't really make any sense because the Native Americans who used to live here were like basically killed out or moved during the Trail of Tears.
Yep.
Or during colonial America. So this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Which is what the main character later finds out.
Okay. So you find out that it's fake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then Sage comes in and she's like, oh, she's suckling a monkey. There's just a monkey on her tit.
Is that a power move? Because she comes out here and like, you don't know what's what anymore.
I don't know. I don't know. She's suckling a monkey, and she's like, oh, like, I found you. What were you doing? Why were you alone in the place? The celebrity clients were really mad.
She's like, what were you? I'd be like, dude, what are you doing, dude? What's going on over there? I don't even know how to feel about that, to be honest. There's no, like, screamer character, like, in anime to explain how I feel, or, like, to ask my questions.
No.
This is just a reality, and they're like, oh, let me just keep accepting these things.
Yep.
Nobody questions any of it.
No.
She's not like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, so she thinks it's weird, and then she explains it away. She's like, oh, his mom, like, is sick, so I'm lactating for him.
Also not how lactation works.
I think she explains that, like, she's been given some hormones, because you can get hormones to trigger lactation.
Yes.
But somehow that's explained.
Okay.
And so then she's like, hey, like, to recover before we go back to the city, go take a hike through the woods. As every city dweller loves to do.
That sounds kind of, like, aggressive, too, where it's like, yeah, just take a fucking hike.
Yeah, take a walk.
I gotta feed this monkey. Hold on, just get it out of my face.
So she, like, basically forces her out of the house onto this, like, walk.
Okay.
And the girl's like, I guess. And she's, like, dressed not
ready for a hike.
Ready for a hike. I think she's barefoot in a long skirt.
Okay.
Going up a hill.
Okay. I'd be like, nah, I need shoes. I'm not doing that.
She ends up in a clearing with like these weird pits of goo.
Okay. These are the tar pits that they're talking about?
I don't know.
Okay.
They don't explain.
All right.
They don't explain. I think it's called the witch's hole. That's all they explain. And then
that doesn't sound suggestive, but okay.
There's a lot of suggestive stuff in this book, okay?
Uh-huh.
And then she ends up in this, like, witch's hole area, and there's some weird deer that are stalking her.
Are they predator deer? The faded predator?
I don't know, this never comes up again.
Do they start screaming, fear the deer? Like, what's going on?
I don't know, because it never comes up again.
Okay.
So the deer stalk her. She's like in the clearing. The deer are on the other side of the clearing. She's like, I'm gonna get out of here because these deer are like making a lot of sustained eye contact with me, and that's weird.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, because like if you encountered a deer that was making a ton of sustained eye contact, you'd also leave.
Unless we're in that one place in Japan where they're really mean and they bite you, then I'd be like, stay away from me, dude.
Yeah. Well, imagine that's where you are. They're making a lot of sustained eye contact, and then they start coming towards her, and she's like, I'm gonna leave. Let me go.
That's when you have to release wolves.
So she starts walking back, and the deer are following her.
Okay.
And then she stops, and the deer stop.
Uh-huh.
And then she starts walking, and the deer start walking.
Uh-huh.
She's like, I'm pretty sure I'm getting stalked by a deer.
Okay.
Now. Which I'm pretty sure she was. So then she, like, runs to get back to the house. This house has, like, tons of, like, glass walls. Like, it's out in the middle of nowhere, so they have glass everywhere. Because there's nobody around.
Yeah,
except for deer.
Horror movie trope.
And she runs back into the house, and she closes the door, and then the deer is, like, next to the window, and it keeps, like, kicking the window.
Lightly kicking, or, like, with the intention to break it?
Like, knocking on the window with its hoof.
Does it do the special hoof knock?
I don't think so. She gets freaked out by this.
Okay, naturally.
And then she goes up to another room because she's like, I don't want to be near windows anymore because this deer is really fucking freaking me out and he keeps following me.
Okay.
Same deer.
Okay.
So she goes to a different room. She goes upstairs and then she's like in the bathroom and there's more supplement stuff, whatever. And then she goes to what is the office of Sage, the woman who owns this house that she's been brought to.
Okay.
And she sees on the monitors Sage driving up with the guy that she had sex with.
That Sage had sex with?
No,
or
that the main character had sex with. You remember how
that
she...
has the twin or the
Yeah, the
sister
twin
that
that
was...
she's super into.
Okay. Who were we calling her? Emma?
Emma, yeah.
Okay.
So Emma's brother, Elliot.
Okay.
Emma and Elliot?
Sure, why
Yeah,
not?
that works. I don't remember their names. I think they start with A, but I actually fully do not remember them.
Alright.
So she sees Sage get out of a car with Elliot, and Elliot is like carrying a bundle.
Okay, so you assume it's the monkey?
It's a suspicious bundle. It's bigger than a monkey.
What are we talking about? Like a person?
Yeah, it's a bundle of a person.
Oh,
She doesn't know
okay.
it at the time, though. The main character does not know this.
But you said bundle, and I'm thinking bundle as in a baby.
Like a rug. Like a rolled up rug.
Oh, like they caught a rat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then she sees this, and that freaks her out, and then she goes home through Sage's car. Sage drives her home.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, can you give me a ride? Oh,
She
this
got in the middle of upstate New York. Like, how is she gonna get back?
smells weird back here. It smells like dead. It's not weird. You should probably get your car cleaned though. Like, use the good bleach.
So she goes back to New York, and she's hanging out with Emma a lot. Emma and Lilith become friends of hers, and they hang out. And Emma is like spoiled rich girl-esque a little bit. So she doesn't really work as far as we know,
Okay.
but she parties.
Nepo baby.
Yeah.
Classic.
And so she and Emma and Lilith and the main character go out to like party at a club,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of like, I guess I would describe it as like a furry club, but when furries become
I don't know where to start my line of questioning because furries are real, unless you mean they're splicing
Yes!
animal DNA.
Yes.
So like,
So like,
You know, and there's-
the bouncer at the club has spliced alligator DNA, and he's got like nubbins on his face, like alligator nubbins.
what's an alligator
You
nubbin?
know, like the ridges on alligators?
Yeah, like their dorsal fins kind of
Like
thing.
ridges like that go above their eyes and like down their back and stuff like that, the little buckles.
Yeah, but I thought those are fins technically, where they used to be. I don't know. Yeah, well, like they don't gotta be big fins to make a difference. He's got a ton of them.
Anyway, so he's got like alligator nubbins on his face and green like reptile skin, and I think he's got like cat eyes.
Seems weird that he would have it on his face rather than the back of his head or his neck or
Well, they
his...
start on like their eyebrows.
Yeah, but also alligators have eyes that look in two different fucking directions.
Look, they splice genes with like animal genes to make you look like an animal. So like they got ears, there's tails.
Okay, a
They're
little
so,
bit
that's what I'm
of...
saying. They're like furries that became real. They're like furries that splice their DNA with
mean-
the furry.
They're just people who now have animal DNA, which was thought to be like a thing that you can do, but I'm pretty sure it just causes like all of your organs to fail.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, okay. But continue, she goes to the furry club.
She goes to the club, and they party, and Lilith doses her with like LSD.
Bam, cattail.
So she doses her in a really uncomfortable way.
Does she put it in her mouth and then put it into the main character's mouth?
It's even worse than that.
What, does she shoot it out of her butt? What are we talking about?
So she puts it on her hand. Lilith puts it on her hands,
Okay.
and then she grabs the main character and she puts her hand down the main character's panties
Okay.
and then up the main character.
Is it an intravaginal drug?
Yep. So, well, it's not supposed to be, but I guess it like it metabolizes quicker. It gets into your bloodstream quicker through the vagina.
I mean, yeah, technically you can absorb.
That makes sense, right?
Usually it's like the butt.
But like it's a violation regardless because she just grabs her and sticks her head down the vagina.
Okay.
And then she gets high and she has a great ass time. And then they go home and it's Lilith, Emma, and the main character, and they're all still kind of high. And Lilith is like playing this game where she's like, "Oh, you really like Emma, don't you?" And she's like petting Emma while she's talking to the main character.
Okay.
And she starts making out with Emma. And she's like, "Why don't you get invited into our thing?"
You want to
and
be
the
our
main character
third?
wants to be part of it, but she like doesn't. So she goes to the guest room instead.
Okay.
It's very strange.
She just running from her gay awakening, like
I
what?
guess.
Okay.
I don't really know why this was relevant to the story.
This book came out last year. Like it's normal now. You can just like you can be gay.
I don't know why it's not relevant to the story really either.
Okay. Because I thought the whole thing is she's really into this girl because she wants to be this girl.
Yeah, kind of. Well, so that's Lilith's reason for being into this girl. But the main character's reason for being into Emma is that she actually just likes Emma.
As a person?
As a person.
Okay.
But she
didn't know nothing about her when she saw her. She's like, oh, I like her.
She immediately liked her, like she liked how she looked.
Okay.
But then she specifically grows to like her as a person because they become friends.
Okay.
So Emma is into Lilith to be into, Emma is into the main character's into Emma.
Yes.
Words.
Yep.
Words are hard.
Gotcha.
Names. The main character after this evening gets a call from Sage that says, "Hey, I know that you're really struggling and you wanted some extra cash. I have a job for you where if you work at this place for like 2 nights a year, you'll make 6 figures." So she says yes.
It's sex work, isn't it?
It's sex work.
I knew it! It always is!
So she goes in and they're like, we believe in sex as a meditative act. I mean, I don't know. They're hitting the reset button.
Okay.
And they're using it like they're like, oh, sex can hit the reset button and help with your skin.
And you get that clarity and
it's like a spa. It's like a sex spa. And they're like, sex as a spa experience, but they actually believe it. It's not like a happy ending spa. Like they actually believe it.
Okay.
So she goes there and they dose her with something. They don't tell her.
Honestly, this might be the most believable part of the story. But continue.
It's not believable because, like, if you read the description of like what the building looks like, it does not make any sense. But that's just my problem with it.
Aside from the building, I just meant the fact that she's making a ton of money by doing sex work.
For like 2 nights.
Okay.
So she goes in and she gets dosed with something. Like she swims in this pool. They like make her swim in a pool and then like somehow gets her high.
Okay.
Right? And then they dress her up and then they send her on her way and she doesn't remember what happens that night. She wakes up the next morning with papaya seeds in her vagina.
Papaya seeds big or small?
I think that they're described as small, so it's either papaya or like mango seed. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something like small and like pulpy.
Why do people always put stuff up there?
Because the company is all about like whole green stuff, so they don't use like condoms. They use like natural preventatives.
Okay.
And this is like what they did.
I mean, in this case, you could just use birth control.
Yeah.
Like anybody else, that's technically natural because it comes from you.
But that's not how these people do it.
Anyway.
So she makes this money, and then she's like able to go to Margot, who I like how I remember Margot, the woman who runs the long-term care facility, or who's at least a receptionist.
Okay.
I remember her name. I do not remember Emma's name.
So, the thing is, like, is Margot important to the story at all?
No.
That's probably why you remember it. You're like, who's named Margot now? I was like, I beat Margot in the last Elden Ring DLC, but like, that's not really important.
Margot is how you know that's how you spell Margot, right? With a T at the end.
What? Is the T silent?
Yes. It's French.
What? Oh, fuck off.
French, you know?
No,
I think it's French.
That's bullshit, bro.
I guarantee you, if you looked it up right now, it would be Margot.
I'm not gonna look it up because I know that you're right, but that's still bullshit.
Anyway, so she calls her and she's like, hey, I got the money, and I also want to drop off some stuff for my parents. And she drops off
all the supplements.
The supplements.
I knew it.
Because they're helping her.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, oh, maybe it'll help them. And she drops off some money.
Okay.
And then she's working still, and some weird stuff's happening. There's, like, the forced sex scene. There's a lot of forced sex and, like, sex in general.
Oh, maybe the writers got something for it. Like, if that's what you like.
I don't really know. I think it's, like, played as, like, horror. So I don't really understand. It doesn't seem to serve the narrative, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then she's doing her thing. She's getting progressively more white and pretty and progressively more hated. And then she also keeps getting called in to go to this sex work place.
But more hated because she's pretty, so it's the envy hate?
Yeah, it's the envy kind of hate. She likes it. She kind of likes it.
She thrives off it.
Yeah.
She's power hot at that point.
Yeah. She's power hot. She loves it.
Uh-huh.
At some point during this whole thing, we find out that Lilith at one point separated herself from Emma's family. So Emma is the owner, the CEO, what do we call him? Arthur?
Yeah.
The CEO's niece.
Okay.
So Emma and Elliot are his niece and nephew.
Oh, okay.
And Lilith is the adopted daughter of somebody who knows them, and her father was like a famous composer, and she was like his mistress's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So she was friends with the family. So Lilith was friends with Emma and Elliot and Arthur growing up.
Okay, so they all know each other. Classic nepotism.
Yep. And then in college, Lilith kind of separated herself from Emma and Elliot. Like, she just like stopped talking to them.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after college, she just started talking to them again.
Okay.
And they thought it was really weird, but they were like, whatever, we love you, so we're happy.
Mm-hmm.
And Lilith started working at Holistic, even though before that, she was like really against Holistic totally. Mm-hmm. She like really did not like it. So Emma's like, it's kind of weird, but you know, whatever, I'm happy to have my friend back.
Okay.
And this is kind of where it all starts to unravel. So, like, a lot of the scenes that I've described to you were supposed to be scary, but I don't think that they were for me because I could not visualize them effectively.
I think it's just too confusing for me to understand.
Well,
so it's not scary if I can't process why it would be scary.
I'm not really doing a very good job of describing it either because I just don't really feel like I absorbed why it was scary.
Yeah, but like...
But also, I don't think it fed into the overall theme and narrative.
Yeah, I mean, you described a lot of these scenes where they're typical horror, so like the deer is following her.
Yeah.
Why is she getting stalked? It would be just as scary as if it was an unknown man.
Right.
Or an unknown character that was watching her.
Right.
But like...
And the animals in the zoo dying. That would be typical horror. But why is it scary in this book that is supposed to be specifically about like white beauty standards and how horrifying they can be to our overall society?
Yeah. I feel like, at least from the scenes that you described, I understand the character very well. I don't quite feel that horror or like the scariness of it.
I don't really feel it either. And I don't know whether it's just like a lack of me not being able to understand the imagery that they're using for these horror scenes. But I also just don't feel like these horror scenes are really feeding into this narrative very well.
Okay, so what's the end of the story go like?
So the end of the story, essentially, Emma suddenly collapses. She's been like progressively not doing very well for the past couple of months. Like she's been having headaches, fainting spells, that kind of thing.
Too much drugs, huh?
And she immediately suddenly collapses.
Uh-huh.
And goes to the hospital.
Okay.
She basically, all of her skin starts melting.
Okay.
Like she's described like a blob.
Okay.
And she starts seething, the whole thing, and she basically dies within 2 days. I don't think you actually really ever see the scene where she dies.
Okay, but it's just implied that she passed away.
It's implied that she's she's told that she's passed away, but you never actually truly see it.
Okay.
You see her like blob-like, and that's it.
Okay.
And then while the main character is mourning this change, this event. She gets called in again to do sex work.
Okay.
But she started to be suspicious of Holistic at this point. So she stops taking all of her supplements.
Well, yeah, I'd really fucking hope so. If your friend turns into a blob and you're like, I wonder if it's all this stuff I'm putting up my butt.
Yeah, so she stops taking all of her supplements. And she avoids the pool that they tell her to swim in, which is how they dosed her the first time she went to the sex place.
Okay.
And she avoids it, and then she basically acts like she's a docile, like, little lamb, where she's just, like, pretending that she's dosed.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this writer's got something for this. She's got a kink or something.
I don't know.
Because, like, why are you always like,
Maybe
I'm
for this author,
helpless?
this is, like, the most horrifying thing, which it is very horrifying. I just don't think it feeds into the narrative very well.
But why bring up so many times?
I don't know. So then she gets put into an operating room, basically.
Okay.
She's in an operating room, and they do stuff, and once again, they force her to have sex.
And then give her an well, that's not sterile.
But they don't. It's nobody does it to her. It's a thing that goes up her.
Okay.
It deposits something inside of her.
Okay.
It deposits like sperm inside of her.
So why fake sex then?
I don't know. I think it's so that she doesn't feel like she doesn't think it's weird that she's like a little bit sore. Is like that's why they are telling her that she's having sex with clients instead of like telling her like, hey, we stuck something up you. And it turns out that this is like some kind of like IVF like experiment for rich people to have babies but not have their bodies like
altered,
get fucked up. Yeah.
So just not to give birth to your own. It's called a surrogate, though. Like, what the actual fuck?
I don't know. It's something like it, and it's using animal DNA, so it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Obviously. And she finds out that like she overhears them talking about this, and they talk about how like all of the women who have gone through this treatment have either killed themselves postpartum or lost. They specifically call them the brood. Okay. Which is a term you use in animal husbandry.
Okay.
It's like when you are talking about like reptiles or like birds have broods.
Okay. I don't know. It's just like a lot of the story doesn't add up to me. I feel like I have more questions just because of the validity of a lot of the...
The science doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I feel like that really hurts your ability to kind of understand the character and her motivations or the way that she acts.
Yeah, I don't like, and also I will say the most compelling part of the story is obviously her relationship to her parents.
Yeah, but that's only like the first...
But you don't see it very much.
Yeah, that's like the first quarter, but that's like what leads you into the story.
Yeah, it's like 2 chapters, and then she doesn't really talk to her parents anymore because they're in this long-term care facility where they don't really have their faculties about them.
Yeah, I mean, how necessary.
So she gets told that her parents are doing better after she gives them the supplements. But you never see her go to talk to them.
Yeah, and that's something that you would expect her to do immediately. To be like, oh, they're doing better, and you go, let me visit, let me see what they're doing.
She talks to them once, and her father recognizes her.
Okay.
A little bit. Not totally, but a little bit. But that's it.
Yeah.
So it's very strange. And then, so Emma dies. She figures out that this like weird experimental thing has been happening to her that she did not agree to. This is also a horror part. Like that's horrifying to me. And then she gets found out by Sage. So Sage realizes that she knows everything. And she basically gets bonked over the head and captured.
Mind your business, Sage.
And brought to the area up in upstate New York where they have the farm.
Okay.
And she ends up in a pile of bodies. Including Lilith.
Okay.
And she finds out she's in this pile of bodies and they're pointing the lenses at the pile.
Oh, for her to get a sky burial.
Yeah, to get the sky burial. So that the bodies like melt or burn, and then the birds come to get them. And she hides herself for a little while they're still up there. And then she escapes the pile and starts moving the lenses so that the birds don't all go for her. Okay. It's kind of weird.
I mean, it would just make more sense to leave that area.
Yeah, but she really wants to save Lilith's body specifically.
Is Lilith dead?
Yeah.
Oh, so fuck yeah. Just leave. What's the fucking point?
I don't know. Lilith is dead. I don't really know why it's important to save her body.
Okay.
But yeah.
So she's interested in trying to save the body.
And so she moves some of the lenses. I think she points them at Sage's house.
Okay.
I don't really know how, because if these lenses are as big as I'm thinking of, they're not easy to move.
Yeah, you'd probably need some kind of machinery.
Well, they're operated by like electronics. Like they are operated from the house.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand how she's moving them. And then the like mechanics kick in and try to move them back, and she's like holding her own against them.
Yeah, that's okay.
That doesn't make sense.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. So then she somehow gets back. I think she steals Sage's car.
Okay.
She steals Sage's car and she gets back to New York, and she finds Lilith's apartment, and she finds out that Lilith is actually a journalism student, and she knew holistic was like fucking weird the whole time.
Oh, so she was trying to be an undercover cop?
Yeah, she was trying to be an undercover cop and like get the story because nobody would go on record against holistic.
Uh-huh.
But girls were disappearing.
Yep.
And so she finds all of Lilith's research, and she's like, I'm going to break this story wide open. But Arthur finds her beforehand.
Okay.
Turns out Arthur is the one who paid for her conservatory stay because he was always planning on using her like this.
Okay. So he saw that little Asian girl on YouTube and went, that one. I'm going to get
well,
that one.
Well, he does it to multiple girls.
Yeah, but
like he has like a whole thing where he's like, he's got them on like a conveyor belt.
What does he do? Like troll YouTube? And he's like, I don't know.
He wants to make them white girls too.
Okay.
Because he's like...
Because he got a complex?
Yeah, he's got a complex. He thinks that white beauty is the only beauty. This is very small. Like, this should have been the entire theme of the book, and it wasn't.
Uh-huh.
Like, this and maybe the sex work would have made a good theme.
Okay.
But this was not the whole theme. This was like a couple of pages...
Just you explaining...
Where the villain just explained it.
The whole middle of the book just seemed like it was meandering?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So... He explains it. She starts to deteriorate.
So she starts going goopify?
She starts going goopify. And her parents have also started to deteriorate, and they immediately... I think I told you about this before. Her parents start to deteriorate and go downhill very, very quickly. They like go downhill within a matter of days.
Uh-huh.
And she's also starting to deteriorate around this time. Because she stopped taking her supplements. And her parents literally die off screen.
Okay.
To the point where, like, she just has an email that says, like, hey, you need to talk to us right now. Your parents went to the hospital.
Okay.
And that's it. And then she gets a call from the doctor, and the doctor is like, hey, what kind of food do your parents eat? And she's like, we're Chinese. We eat regular Chinese
We eat
foods.
human food.
And he's like, well, your parents... What is that? What is the cheese brain fungus?
Cheese brain?
You know, like, when you're cannibalism... and it causes cheese brain?
Yeah, you just have holes in your brain.
Yeah, but what is the word for it? The term. It's like I said it and you literally immediately knew what it was.
I don't know, I just call it Swiss cheese brain because there's giant holes in your brain.
He tells her that her parents have the Swiss cheese brain thing that is indicative of cannibalism, and he's like, I didn't know where they got it, and the only thing that we know that they've changed in their routine since they've come here is the cheese brain, is the holistic supplements. I don't even know why he asked her about her parents, like, you know, traditional foods, because he knows. Google. I'm not a robot, Google, I swear. Is it beer chow? Was that what it is?
I have no idea.
I don't remember. I thought it started with a K.
I got nothing.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'll look it up. Maybe. Probably not.
Okay.
Anyway, parents had Swiss cheese brain. They died. They were accused of cannibalism. But turns out it was in the supplements.
Okay.
And then she starts going goop.
Okay. And then that's the end of the story?
That's kind of the end of the story. So she takes down the guy. She exposes him. And she's goopified, and she finds it liberating to be goopified because nobody wants to look at her.
Okay. So, rating. What you want to do out of 10?
Oh, I do 5-star ratings. So
okay,
I mean,
out
I do
of 5 stars, what would you give it?
I think I gave it like a 2.5. And mainly for the descriptions in the beginning of her and music.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like, at least from your description of the story, I'd say it's like a solid 2.
Yeah.
It's good for the beginning part of it,
Yeah.
but then, like, it kind of veers off. You don't really understand
Yeah.
why you're following
Yeah.
the character still, and then they reveal everything at the end. So it's kind of like you forgot that what your ending was, and then you're scrambling to finish.
I think they did a good job. I didn't do a very good job of describing it, but they did a good job of like describing her slow change to pretty and then the descent into not. But the descent into not pretty was very quick, I think.
Yeah, because you go goop.
Yeah, she went goop. And I think that the problem is that like, I think it would have been better if the author had focused on like 2 themes, and the main theme should have been like white beauty versus like other types of beauty.
I mean, it's in the title, basically.
Yeah. And I think there was like one passage that was really good at the end, or towards the end, where she was talking about how she no longer looked like her mom. Like, she looked in the mirror and she didn't have like her mother's like small almond eyes and her dad's like squash nose.
So she was realizing that she was not like her parents, and she was
Yeah, and she was very sad about it.
Yeah, so she's distancing herself both physically and
mentally.
Yeah.
But this was like, that was the realization that she had, where she started to feel like being pretty in like white standards wasn't worth it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best part of the ending of the book.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. I mean, like, there's plenty of easier ways to get that across.
Yeah.
Than putting her through all this weird sex work.
Yeah, the weird sex work. I think the zoo animals was also really weird to me. Like, all the animal splicing was really strange. I think that the author was trying to make a comparison where like women of color to the evil main guy were like
just
no
like
better than animals.
I get it, but it just felt like a weak comparison.
I just don't think it was explored enough. Like, it could have been stronger.
Okay. Anyway, I guess that's that.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Bye.